Look, I'm about to flip everything you've been told about being a good guy completely upside down. And if you can handle the next few minutes, you'll never see the game the same way again. The world straight up does not respect the dude who gives himself away for free. Your whole life, they've been feeding you this line that being warm is some kind of superpower. That if you're open, kind, and always down to hang, the universe is going to return that energy back to you tenfold. That's straight cap. In the brutal math of how humans actually operate, being available creates fans, but being scarce creates disciples. When you're always warm, always ready to roll, always walking around with that big, goofy smile, you're not coming across as valuable. Nah, you're seen as a utility, like the water fountain at the gym. Sure, people need it, but nobody's out here thinking about it until it stops working. There's a version of you that's sick and tired of playing the nice guy, exhausted from all that emotional labor of managing everyone else's feelings while yours get completely ignored. You're watching the cold ones, the distant cats, the detached players get the promotions, the obsession, the straight-up respect, and you're sitting there like, why though? It ain't because they're evil. It's because they've tapped into this primal psychological law that you've been sleeping on. Machiavelli dropped this bomb. It is much safer to be feared than loved. But he wasn't talking about being some terror. He was talking about reverence, about the power that comes from being a dude who can't be easily consumed, used up, and tossed aside. I'm about to teach you the psychology of being ice cold. Not cruel, not straight up malicious, but surgically detached from all the BS. We're gonna dismantle this need for validation that's keeping you enslaved to what other people think about you. We're gonna install a completely new operating system based on the laws of power, Stoic philosophy, and biological value. By the time we're done here, you're gonna understand exactly why the person who cares the least always holds the most power. And you're gonna know precisely how to become that glacier. Slow, silent, and crushing everything that gets in its path. But real talk, you gotta be willing to kill the part of you that's desperate to be liked. Phase 1, the economics of affection. Inflation, baby. Let's look at your personality like it's currency, like the dollar. If the government just starts printing money like it's going out of style, what goes down? Inflation hits. The value of that cash drops through the floor. It becomes worthless paper. You could have a whole shopping cart full of it and it wouldn't buy you a single pack of gum. Now look at your attention, your validation, your energy. You're giving all that away for free, no charge. You're laughing at jokes that ain't even funny. You're replying to texts in like 2 seconds flat. You're agreeing with opinions you straight up hate just to keep the peace going. You're apologizing for taking up space, for existing. Bro, you've hyperinflated your own value. You've flooded the entire market with you. And because the market's absolutely flooded, your stock price is at straight zero. The psychology of being cold is basically a strategy of deflation at its core. It's restricting the supply. When you pull back your energy, when you stop offering yourself so freely like some all-you-can-eat buffet, the market corrects itself real quick. All of a sudden, your silence carries weight. Your compliment actually means something. Your presence becomes an event instead of just another Tuesday. Machiavelli understood that human beings are ungrateful, fickle as hell, and greedy to the bone. If you give them everything on a silver platter, they're going to think they deserve it. They'll view your kindness not as some gift, but as a debt you owe them, like you're supposed to be their emotional ATM. To be cold is to recognize this dark truth about human nature and adjust your game accordingly. It starts with the eyes, for real. The warm dude looks at everyone with these pleading eyes. He's scanning the whole room asking, "Am I safe here? Do y'all like me? Am I cool? His energy's projecting outward, straight up begging for some kind of return signal, some validation that he matters. The cold man's energy projects inward. He's not scanning for safety or approval. He's assessing the terrain like a general surveying the battlefield. He's not asking for permission to exist. He's grounded in his own gravity, his own center. When you stop projecting that please like me energy, people get confused as hell. Their subconscious mind detects an anomaly, a glitch in the matrix. Why isn't this dude trying to impress me? Does he know something I don't? Is he better than me somehow? That doubt right there, that's the seed of respect growing. You gotta become comfortable with the dead air, the awkward silence. In a conversation, your average person is terrified of silence like it's gonna kill them. They fill it with nervous laughter, with pointless chatter, with self-deprecating jokes. They're out here vomiting words just to fill the void because they can't handle the tension. The cold strategist, he lets that silence just sit there and marinate. He looks at you. He listens. He doesn't rush to comfort you or make you feel better. In that silence, the other person's anxiety starts rising like water in a sinking ship, and they begin seeking your approval instead. They start talking faster, revealing more information, trying their hardest to win you over. You flip the entire dynamic without saying a single word. You've become the prize simply by refusing to play the game of inflation. Phase 2, the immutable object, non-reaction. The second layer of this psychology is the death of reactivity, killing that knee-jerk response. The Stoics, especially Epictetus, taught that men aren't disturbed by things themselves, but by the views they take of them. Most people are straight-up puppets, no cap. They've got strings attached to their ego, their insecurities, their trauma, all their baggage. All the world's got to do is pull a string and boom, they're dancing like marionettes. If someone disrespects you, you get mad. String pulled. If someone ghosts you, you get anxious. String pulled. If someone gasses you up with praise, you get arrogant. String pulled. To be cold is to cut all those strings, to become untouchable. It's achieving the state of being an immutable object, something that can't be moved or changed by external forces. Imagine a cliffside right by the ocean. The waves crash against it. They're screaming, foaming at the mouth, pounding that rock with millions of gallons of force, trying their hardest to break it down. Does the cliff scream back at the ocean? Does the cliff get offended and start talking trash? Does the cliff try to negotiate or reason with the water? Nah, man. It stands. It endures. And eventually that water breaks against the rock and flows back into the sea where it came from. You gotta become that cliff. When you react emotionally to disrespect, to someone testing you, you're basically telling that person, you have power over me. Your opinion of me is more true than my own opinion of myself. That's the ultimate submission, the ultimate L. Machiavelli advised the prince to never let his true nature be fully known, to never let his enemies know what actually hurts him, because once they know what gets under your skin, they know exactly where to strike to do maximum damage. This is where that concept of the gray rock technique comes from. But we're going way deeper than that. Surface level stuff? We're talking about becoming the void itself. When someone tries to provoke you, tries to get a rise out of you, don't just ignore them. Look at them like they're a specimen in a jar at the science lab. Observe their anger from a distance. Observe their attempt to manipulate you with clinical detachment. Dissociate from the immediate moment. Step back into the back of your mind and watch the whole thing like it's a movie you're analyzing. Say to yourself, look at this person. Look how desperate they are for any kind of reaction from me. Look how much energy they're burning up trying to get me to dance. When you view them with that clinical detachment, like you're studying them under a microscope, their power completely evaporates into thin air. You're not fighting them. You're studying them. And nothing, absolutely nothing, is colder than being studied like a lab rat. This is why silence is so aggressive, why it hits different. If someone screams at you and you scream back, you've validated their anger. You've entered their arena. You're equals now, playing the same game. But if they scream and you just wait 3 seconds, look at them calmly with zero emotion, and then ask, are you finished? You've absolutely destroyed them. You've signaled that their emotional storm didn't even get you wet. You're operating on a completely higher plane of existence, a different dimension. This works in relationships, in business deals, and in straight-up war. The person who loses their temper first loses the negotiation every single time. The person who cares the most about making the deal happen loses all the leverage they had. You gotta practice what I call the pause of power. Before you respond to anything, a text, an email, a disrespectful comment, a question, force yourself to pause. Even if it's just 2 seconds, that pause tells your brain, I'm in control here. I'm not operating on reflex. I'm not some robot. I'm a chooser, a decision maker. In that pause, you kill the people pleaser inside you. In that pause, you kill that fearful child who just wants approval. And the person who speaks after that pause is the sovereign, the king. Phase 3, the law of zero. Drag detachment from outcomes. Physics teaches us about drag, about friction, about the resistance that air or water puts on an object moving through it. The more attachments you've got weighing you down, the more drag you're experiencing, and the slower you move through life. Most dudes are heavy as hell. They're weighed down by this need for specific outcomes. I need this job. I need her to text me back. I need these people to think I'm smart. I need to win this argument. This neediness is a stench, bro. It's a pheromone that signals pure weakness to everyone around you. Evolutionary biology is brutal and unforgiving. It teaches us to avoid needy people because needy people are a drain on resources, an energy vampire. If you need me, you're basically a parasite feeding off my energy. But if you want me without needing me, you're a partner, an equal. The psychology of coldness is mastering the art of zero drag. It's applying the Bhagavad Gita's central lesson. You've got a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you're not entitled to the fruits of your actions, to the outcomes. This is the hardest pill to swallow, no cap. You gotta act with total intensity, total focus, total skill, giving it everything you've got, while simultaneously not giving a single damn if it actually works out. It's the sniper's mindset. The sniper calculates the wind speed, the distance, his breathing pattern. He executes the perfect shot with precision. Once that bullet leaves the barrel, he doesn't scream at it, or pray to it, or beg it to hit the target. He just packs up his gear and moves out. The outcome is physics at that point. It's completely out of his hands. When you detach from outcomes, you become terrifyingly effective at whatever you do. Why? Because you're no longer afraid of taking the L. The dude who's afraid to lose the girl will act weird, jealous, insecure, clingy. He'll lose her every time. The dude who's afraid to lose the business deal will lower his price and look desperate, like he needs it more than they do. He'll lose the deal. But the cold man, he walks away without looking back. And the willingness to walk away is the only true power you have in any negotiation, period. Machiavelli knew that a prince must never be dependent on the goodwill of others. He's got to rely on his own arms, his own strength. Apply this philosophy to your psyche. When you enter any room, tell yourself, I don't need a single thing from these people. I don't need their money. I don't need their validation or approval. I don't need their friendship. If you get it, cool. If you don't, cool. Either way, you're straight. This mindset creates a vacuum around you, and nature absolutely hates a vacuum. It always tries to fill it. When you pull back your need, people feel that space opening up. They feel the void where your neediness used to be taking up all that space, and they feel compelled to fill it. They start chasing you instead. They start trying to impress you. This is the paradox of desire that's been known forever. We always want what retreats from us, what moves away. Think about a cat versus a dog for a second. A dog is warm as hell. It jumps on you when you come home. It licks your face. It needs you desperately. You love the dog, sure, but you don't really respect it. You control the dog completely. A cat, though? A cat is ice cold. It sits across the room just watching you. It decides when it wants to be petted, when it wants attention. And because of that dynamic, you work for the cat's affection. You feel honored, special even, when the cat finally chooses you. Be the cat in your interactions. Stop jumping on people with your energy. Stop licking their faces with your compliments and your constant availability. Sit back, watch the game unfold, and let them come to you. Phase 4, Shadow Self-Integration. Embracing your dark side. Society's been telling you your whole life to hide your dark side, to suppress your aggression, your selfishness, your capability for violence and dominance. They tell you to be a civilized man, to play nice. But Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, warned us that a man who hasn't passed through the inferno of his passions has never really overcome them. He's just running from them. Being cold isn't about being empty inside, having no emotions. It's about being full of dangerous things that you have under total control, like a loaded weapon with the safety on. A harmless man isn't a good man. A harmless man is just weak, period. A good man is a dangerous man who has his monster, his shadow, under voluntary control. People can smell the difference, trust me. If you're just nice because you're scared of conflict, scared of confrontation, you're prey. You're soft, easy to manipulate. But if you're polite, calm, and quiet, yet there's this glimmer in your eye that says, I could absolutely destroy you if I wanted to, but I'm choosing not to. That's pure magnetism. That's the cold factor in action. It's the velvet-covered brick, smooth on the outside but hard as hell underneath. How do you build this? By engaging with your shadow side, by acknowledging it exists, by accepting that you're capable of selfishness, you're capable of manipulation if you wanted to use it, you're capable of cruelty if pushed far enough. Don't deny these parts of yourself like they don't exist. Integrate them into your whole personality. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince for saints or monks. He wrote it for leaders who had to survive in a world full of wolves ready to tear them apart. He argued that you gotta know how to be bad, how to play dirty so that you're not destroyed by those who are willing to be bad. When you accept your own capacity for darkness, for doing harm, you stop being afraid of other people's darkness. You see a manipulator trying to play games and you don't gasp in horror or shock. You recognize the technique they're using. You smile a little. You say, I see exactly what you're doing right now. The self-knowledge gives you a solidity, a foundation that warm people completely lack. Warm people are often naive as hell. They project their own goodness onto the world and then get slaughtered when reality hits. The cold man sees the world exactly as it is, not as he wishes it to be. He accepts reality without flinching. Acceptance is cold. Hope is warm. Hope tells you maybe she'll change. Maybe the boss will finally notice. Maybe the market will recover. Hope is a sedative, a drug. It keeps you passive, waiting around for things to magically get better. Cold acceptance says, she's treating me with disrespect. That's the data, the facts. I will act on the data, not on what I wish was true. Kill the hope. Embrace the cold clarity of the present moment, what's actually happening right now. Phase 5, the language of the sovereign. Verbal minimalism. Robert Greene in the 48 Laws of Power. Law 4, always say less than necessary. Words are a leak in your power. Every time you speak, you're leaking power, leaking information, leaking your intent to people who might use it against you. The insecure dude is terrified of being misunderstood, of someone getting the wrong idea. So he explains himself constantly. He writes entire paragraphs in text messages. He overcontextualizes everything. He creates these word salads, trying desperately to manage your perception of him, trying to control how you see him. The cold man speaks in headlines, in bullet points. He gives the instruction. He states the boundary. He asks the question, and then he stops talking. He doesn't justify his existence to anyone. No is a complete sentence, period. I don't like that is a complete thought. That doesn't work for me is a final decree. End of discussion. When you cut all the fat from your communication, your words become heavy. They land like stones dropping in water, creating ripples. Think about the most powerful authority figures in your life or throughout history. Did they babble on and on? Did they ramble trying to explain themselves? Nah, man. They spoke with economy, with precision. This minimalism creates what I call a projection screen. When you give people very little verbal data to work with, their brain has to fill in the gaps themselves, and they'll usually fill those gaps with qualities that make you seem way more intelligent, way more profound, and way more powerful than you might actually be. Let them do the work for you. Stop trying to prove you're smart or capable. The person who's trying to prove they're smart is actually signaling that deep down they feel stupid. The person who actually knows they're smart has zero interest in proving it to you. This is the essence of Machiavellian communication right here. Information is warfare. Why would you give your enemy, and everyone is potentially an enemy until proven otherwise, your blueprints, your playbook, your strategy? Keep your cards held tight against your chest. When people ask you, what are you thinking right now? Just smile and say, I'm just listening. It drives them absolutely insane. It makes them work harder to figure you out. It makes them crave your approval even more. Phase 6, the architecture of scarcity. Strategic withdrawal. We're gonna go even deeper into the manipulation of time and presence. Machiavelli knew that familiarity breeds contempt every single time. If people see you every single day, if they know exactly what you eat for breakfast, if they know your entire routine down to the minute, you become mundane. You become furniture, part of the background. To maintain power, you gotta strategically withdraw, pull back sometimes. This isn't about ghosting people to be toxic or playing stupid games. It's about reclaiming your own orbit, your own gravitational pull. Most people live in other people's orbits. They're moons circling someone else's planet, waiting for scraps of attention. They wait for the text message. They wait for the plans to be made. they wait for the invitation. The cold man is the sun at the center. He has his own gravity. He has his own mission, his own purpose. He has his own trajectory through life. Sometimes your trajectory intersects with other people's. That's warmth, that's connection, that's community. But then you continue on your path. You move away. This movement away is absolutely crucial to the dynamic. You gotta have a life that's more interesting to you than any relationship or any external validation could ever be. If you don't have a mission, something driving you forward, you will inevitably become needy. You can't fake this at all. If your life is empty, hollow, you will cling to people for meaning. You need a purpose that is cold, that's demanding, a purpose that doesn't care if you're tired or if you're not feeling it today. A purpose that demands your attention more than any notification popping up on your screen. When you're busy building an empire, whether that's a business, a killer physique, or a sharp mind, you're naturally scarce. You don't have to pretend to be busy like some fake guru. You actually are busy. And that organic scarcity, that genuine unavailability, is the most attractive force on planet Earth. People want to be part of something that's moving forward with momentum. They want to hop on the train while it's rolling. But if the train's just parked at the station begging people to get on, nobody wants to ride it. If the train's moving fast and they have to sprint to catch it, they'll run as hard as they can. Be the moving train. Now, I know what you're thinking, but won't I be lonely? Won't I lose friends? Won't people think I'm an asshole? Yeah, you're gonna lose some friends. But real talk, were they actually friends? Or were they just energy vampires feeding on your unlimited supply of validation and attention? You will get called out. You'll be called arrogant. You'll be called cold, distant, different. Good. Being different is the price of admission to the top 1%. Being normal is literally the definition of mediocrity. Being liked by everyone is the trophy they give to slaves who never rocked the boat. You're terrified of the cold because you've lived your whole entire life huddled up by the fire of other people's approval, seeking warmth from external sources. You think that if you step away from that fire, you're gonna freeze to death in the darkness. But yo, I'm here to tell you straight up that you are made of fire. The heat you're desperately looking for everywhere else is already inside you, burning. But you'll never find it, never access it, as long as you keep begging for sparks from everyone else around you. We've covered the foundation at this point. We've stripped away the neediness, the reactivity, the verbal diarrhea that makes you weak and easy to control. But now, we gotta go into the advanced mechanics of this game. We gotta talk about how to weaponize this coldness in specific real-world scenarios. The rabbit hole goes way deeper, and it gets darker, because once you fully realize that you don't need the world, you realize that the world is yours for the taking. Phase 7, the glacier stare, nonverbal dominance. We've talked about silence and its power. Now we're talking about the eyes, the windows to the soul. The eyes are literally the only part of the human brain that's visible outside the skull. When you look at someone, you're looking at their neural circuitry, their operating system. Most people have what I call seeking eyes. They dart around nervously. They blink rapidly when they're uncomfortable. They break eye contact when the tension gets too high because they can't handle it. They look down to submit, to show they're not a threat. The cold man cultivates what I call the glacier stare. This isn't a glare, not an angry frown. It's a dead calm, unblinking focus that looks straight through the social mask and into their true intent. When you're in a negotiation, a confrontation, or even a seduction, try this technique. When the other person is speaking, lock your eyes onto one of theirs, usually the left eye, and do not move them. Don't nod excessively, trying to show you're listening. Don't smile to reassure them and make them comfortable. Just receive the data, absorb what they're saying. This creates a spike in their cortisol levels, their stress hormone. Their primitive brain registers you as a predator stalking them. Not because you're attacking them, but because you're completely still. In nature, the predator is absolutely still right before the strike. The prey is the one that's jittery, nervous, trying to escape. By holding this gaze without breaking, you force them to break first. And whoever breaks the gaze first subconsciously acknowledges the other person as having the dominant frame, the dominant position. But here's the critical nuance. Your face has gotta be relaxed while you do this. If you look tense, like your jaw's clenched, you look like you're trying too hard, like you're forcing it. If your face is relaxed, even bored looking, but your eyes are locked on like a laser, it signals, I am completely comfortable in this high-pressure environment. Are you? This is the Machiavellian lion and fox duality in action. The eyes are the lion, direct, forceful, dominant. The face is the fox, unreadable, smooth, calculated. Use this technique sparingly though. If you do it all the time to everyone, you're gonna look like a psychopath or a weirdo. But use it strategically when boundaries are being crossed. Use it when you're stating your price in a negotiation. Use it when someone tries to lie straight to your face. It acts like a truth serum. People absolutely crumble under the weight of a gaze that doesn't seek their approval or validation. Phase 8, the art of the soft no rejection as power. The amateur says yes to everything because he wants to be liked by everyone. The intermediate says no aggressively to prove he has boundaries and can't be pushed around. The master says no so softly, so smoothly, that you thank him for it afterward. This is the ultimate cold move in the playbook. It's rejection wrapped in silk, smooth as butter. When you reject someone, a plan, a date, a business deal, you're demonstrating high value. You're showing that your time is already spoken for, that you've got things going on. But if you do it with anger or irritation, like, I don't have time for this nonsense, you're showing that you're stressed out. You're showing that they annoyed you, that they got under your skin. You gave them a reaction, which means they won. The cold approach is indifferent politeness. I can't make that work. That's not for me. I'm gonna pass on this one. Notice there are absolutely no excuses given. No, because my dog is sick, or because I'm really busy right now, or any justification. When you give an excuse, any excuse, you're giving them a handle to grab onto, to argue with. Oh, just bring the dog along. Oh, we can do it later when you're free. When you give a flat, soft no with no explanation attached, there's nothing for them to grab onto. It's a smooth wall of ice. They just slide right off it. Machiavelli taught that a prince should avoid being hated even while being feared by his subjects. The soft no achieves exactly this balance. You're not being mean or cruel. You're just being unavailable, which is completely different. And here's the dark psychology twist that makes this so effective. People obsess over what they can't have. By denying them access to yourself, to your time and energy, you become forbidden fruit. You trigger that psychological reactance theory we discussed earlier. The moment you say no to them, their brain immediately tries to figure out how to turn that no into a yes. You've given them a puzzle to solve, and the puzzle is you, figuring you out, while they're spending all this mental energy trying to solve you, trying to crack your code. You're spending your energy on your mission, on building your empire. You're winning the resource war, while they're spinning their wheels. Phase 9. Strategic unpredictability, calculated chaos. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince who is not wise himself cannot be wisely counseled." He also implied that a prince who's predictable is easily overthrown by his enemies. If people know exactly how you're going to react to every situation, they can build a perfect trap for you. If they know that flattery works on you every time, they'll flatter you to manipulate you. If they know that insults provoke you into anger, they'll insult you to throw you off balance. To be cold is to be like a glitched algorithm that nobody can predict. Just when they think you're about to get angry, be completely calm instead. Just when they think you're going to be excited about something, be bored and unimpressed. Just when they think you're going to zig, you zag. This keeps people on their toes constantly. It creates this low-level anxiety in everyone around you. They have to watch you closely, pay attention to your mood, study you to figure out what's coming next. In a relationship, this prevents what I call the boredom death spiral. If you're always exactly the same, totally predictable, passion dies a slow death. But if you're a little bit dangerous, a little bit hard to read, that dopamine in their brain keeps firing. The excitement stays alive. But listen carefully. Don't be chaotic for chaos's sake. Chaos is actually weakness. It's lack of control. Be calculatedly unpredictable, strategically surprising. For example, usually you reply to texts within an hour, right on schedule. Suddenly, go completely dark for 24 hours with no warning, no explanation. When you return, act as if absolutely nothing happened. Just, "Hey, what's up?" like it's no big deal. Their mind will absolutely spin out. Where was he? Who was he with? Is he losing interest in me? Did I do something wrong? You've jump-started their imagination, got the wheels turning. And as Robert Greene says in his books, imagination is the most powerful tool in the entire game of seduction. You're forcing them to think about you constantly. And the more they think about you, the more they mentally invest in you. The sunk cost fallacy kicks in hard. I've spent so much time thinking about him, analyzing every little thing. He must be important to me. You're hacking their cognitive biases, exploiting how their brain works, simply by breaking your established pattern. Phase 10, the power of walking away. The nuclear option. There is no negotiating tactic, no seduction technique, no power move in existence that's stronger than the genuine ability to turn your back and walk straight out the door without looking back. This is the nuclear option of the cold mindset. The ultimate weapon. Most people are absolutely terrified of the end, of things being over. They stay in bad jobs that drain them, bad relationships that hurt them, and bad deals that screw them over. All because they're afraid of the void, afraid of the unknown. They're scared of starting over from scratch. The cold man is friends with the void. He's comfortable in that darkness. He knows that there are 8 billion people on this planet. He knows that money is abundant if you know where to look. He knows that opportunities are literally everywhere if you've got your eyes open. He operates from an abundance mindset even if his bank account is at 0 right now, because he knows his value is internal, not external. It comes from within, not from what he owns. When you're genuinely willing to walk away from anything, any deal, any person, any situation, you hold all the cards at the table. You can demand the highest price. You can demand the best treatment because the other side can smell that you're not bluffing. You'll actually do it. Have you ever tried to sell something to someone who didn't really want to buy it? It's literally impossible. You have to lower the price. You have to throw in extras. You have to beg them to take it. Be the man who doesn't need to buy what they're selling. In every single interaction, ask yourself this question: am I willing to lose this? Can I walk away right now? If the answer is no, you've already lost. You're a hostage in that situation. If the answer is yes, you are free. And freedom, true, cold, detached freedom from outcomes, is the ultimate aphrodisiac to everyone around you. People want to be around the free man because they want to catch a contact high from his liberty, from his independence. They want to know what it feels like to not be a slave to fear, to anxiety, to worry. Phase 11, the sanctuary of solitude, the freezer chamber. To maintain this cold temperature consistently, you need a freezer, a place where you recharge your batteries. You can't be cold if you're constantly overstimulated by social media notifications, by noise, by people demanding your attention 24/7. You'll burn out fast. You'll become irritable and reactive, not cold and calculated. You need solitude, real alone time. Machiavelli was exiled from Florence, kicked out completely. He lost his position of power, his status in society, his money, everything. He was forced to live on a farm in the middle of nowhere. And what did this man do with that isolation? He put on his fancy royal courtly garments like he was still at court. He entered his study like it was a throne room. And he wrote The Prince, one of the most influential books in human history. He communed with the ancients, the great thinkers who came before. He sharpened his mind like a blade. He used that isolation to build a legacy that has lasted over 500 years and counting. You gotta build your sanctuary too, a specific time of day, or a room in your house where nobody enters, uninvited. No phone allowed, no social media influences, no distractions. In that silence, you reconnect with your frame, with who you actually are underneath all the programming. You remind yourself of your identity, your mission. You wash off all the influence of the herd, all the conditioning. If you're constantly plugged into the matrix, you're constantly being programmed by external forces. The news tells you what to fear every single day. Instagram tells you what to desire, what you're supposed to want. Your friends tell you what to think about everything. Solitude is your deprogramming chamber. It's where you cool down the engines that have been running hot. It's where you analyze the data of your life without the emotion clouding your judgment. Why did I react that way? Is this person actually good for me? Or am I just comfortable? Am I on the right path? Or am I drifting? These answers only come in the cold silence. They never, ever come in the noise and chaos. If you can't be alone with yourself, you can't be strong. A man who needs company all the time is a man who's running from himself, from his own thoughts. And if you're running from yourself, why should anyone else run towards you? Stop running away. Turn around. Face that void head on and realize that the void isn't empty at all. It's actually a mirror showing you who you really are. Phase 12, the final transformation, becoming the mirror. When you master all these phases, something strange and powerful happens to you. You become a mirror to everyone else. because you're not projecting your own neurosis, your own insecurities. You reflect theirs back to them. When an angry person meets a cold man, they see their own ugliness reflected in his calm demeanor. It either drives them absolutely mad, or it makes them deeply ashamed of how they're acting. When a needy person meets a cold man, they feel the emptiness of their own soul staring back at them. When a powerful person meets a cold man, they recognize a peer, someone on their level. They see respect reflected back. You become like a Rorschach test for your entire environment. You reveal people's true nature to themselves just by being present, by being that mirror. This is the ultimate position of power in any social dynamic. You become the immovable center around which all the chaos revolves. You're not cold because you lack fire inside you. You're cold because you've mastered that fire. You've focused it into a laser beam instead of letting it burn down your entire house in an uncontrolled blaze. Let's be crystal clear about something. I'm not telling you to become a robot with no emotions. I'm not telling you to never love anyone, never laugh at anything, never enjoy the simple warmth of the sun on your face. I'm telling you to stop being a slave to the heat, to stop letting external validation control your temperature. I'm telling you that you have the capacity to choose your temperature in any situation. There absolutely is a time to be warm with your kids, with your brothers in arms who've proven themselves, with the woman who has earned your loyalty over years of testing and proving herself. But that warmth only has real meaning because you're capable of the cold. You can choose when to turn it on. If you're warm to absolutely everyone you meet, your warmth becomes worthless. It's just your default setting that means nothing. You're like a radiator that can't ever turn off, just bleeding heat everywhere. But if you're a glacier by default and you choose to melt just a little bit for one specific person, that becomes a gift. That becomes a privilege that they'll cherish. That feels like the sun breaking through a winter sky after months of darkness. By mastering the cold, you make your warmth valuable again. You're reclaiming the economy of your attention and energy. The path I've laid out here isn't easy at all. It goes directly against your biological wiring, against millions of years of evolution. We're social primates, social apes. We're hardwired to want to be part of the troop, to be groomed and petted by the group. To choose the cold is to choose the path of the outlier, the maverick, the sigma, the lone wolf, whatever label you want to slap on it. It's the path of the man who walks alone, not because he has to, not because nobody likes him, but because he genuinely likes the view better from up there. It's the path of Machiavelli, who looked at the brutal reality of politics and human nature without flinching and decided not to turn away from the truth. Now look at your life right now with fresh eyes. Look at all the texts you're desperate to send, checking your phone every 2 minutes. Look at all the people you're desperate to please, bending over backwards for their approval. Look at that anxiety that's eating your stomach lining, keeping you up at night. Is it actually worth it? Or are you finally ready to turn down the thermostat? Are you ready to kill that neediness once and for all? Are you ready to become the immutable object that nothing can move? The world is loud as hell, screaming for your attention. Be quiet. The world is hot, burning with drama and chaos. Be cold as ice. The world is chaotic and unpredictable. Be the order, be the structure. I'll see you in the cold.